Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to CAP. My name is Stacy Whitehead, and I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Tau Beta Omega chapter based in Marina del Rey, California. I am so happy to be here today because we are going to be covering some exciting information for you. Financial literacy. You're going to learn about establishing credit, having a budget, how to buy a car. It's going to be some really good and interesting information that I'm sure you will benefit from. I am asking that you all please come off of camera, interact with us. Feel free to ask questions via the chat or raise your hand or just interject at a good time. But just whatever you do, come off camera and participate with us. This information is to help you. And if anything is unclear, this is your opportunity to ask questions and learn. Okay. So first up, we have, well, actually, first up, not a speaker. I'm going to ask you guys a question. I would like to know what you want to study when you go to college. Even if you're not really sure, can somebody come off of mute and tell me what you're interested in studying when you go to college, what you're thinking about? And if you don't want to come off mute, then go ahead and put it in the chat. But it would be really great if at least one or two people can come off of mute and share with us. Anybody interested in speaking? Anybody interested in chatting? Nobody's interested in going to college? Do we have any students on here? Let's see. No, we don't. Well, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. Okay, I see a student's name in the list here. See a few students listed. Come on, guys, share with me. What is it that you're interested in studying when you go to college? Even if you're not 100% sure, do you have some ideas what you think you're interested in? Anyone?
Hi, I'm Jessica. That's my mom.
Hey, Jessica.
I'm really into ASL right now, so I've been looking into majors, ASL, American Sign Language. So I've been looking into majors for that, but I've always been into psychology, but I've been trying to like branch out and find other majors, but those are the two things that I'm really into right now.
You said ASL and psychology?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Out of curiosity, what made you choose that? I'm just curious.
I've always been into deaf culture and American Sign Language from middle school. So I like started signing and teaching myself and taking classes and stuff like that. So I've always wanted to just like kind of like my main goal is to be an interpreter. I think that could be really cool, especially one that's like fluent in both English and American Sign Language, and especially being just like a Black woman. I don't know of many Black or even like African American interpreters for ASL to English, vice versa. So I think that could be really cool. And psychology, I've always been interested in like being a therapist and like talking through stuff with people, but mostly ASL.
Wow, that's exciting. What year are you in high school?
I'm in 11th grade right now, so going
into
12.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Very good. Anyone else? Any other students on the call? Please share with us what you're interested in studying and why. Well, we got the quiet bunch tonight. Okay. Well, all right. Well, that's okay for now. I'm going to come back to you soon. We'll go ahead and get started with our first speaker. So first up, we have Phyllis. Phyllis Moore Hayes. I should give you her proper full name. We are going to discuss information about historically Black colleges. And so Phyllis is going to go ahead and start that now, please.
All right. Oh, I can't see it.
Well, that's pretty.
All right. All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many of the colleges and universities are offering virtual tours now. Today's presentation will highlight 4 HBCUs: Florida A&M University, Howard University, Morehouse College, and Tuskegee University. We will start with Florida A&M University, which is also known as FAMU. FAMU is located in Tallahassee, Florida. Let's take in this beautiful campus before we explore. Now let's hear a little brief history from our virtual tour guide.
I don't think the volume is on for the virtual tour guide.
Share your sound.
No. Go ahead.
Keep escape.
Escape.
Oh, stop. You have to share your stuff.
Okay, we're doing share sound. All right, we got it. We can go. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay. We're glad you're here.
Welcome to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU. Before we get started, let me explain the many ways you can explore our beautiful campus.
Can you hear?
You can click on the forward-facing arrow to start walking around. You can jump to the next.
Can you hear now, Stacy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By clicking the next button. Now, if you already know where you want to go, you can select any location by using the list or clicking directly on the map. Lastly, remember, you can explore any location in more detail by clicking the supplemental icons. Located on one of the highest hills in Tallahassee, Florida, FAMU is recognized by U.S. News and World Report as the #1 public HBCU and Forbes as one of America's top colleges. You are standing outside of the historic Lee Hall, which houses administration and our auditorium. It faces the eternal flame, a constant reminder of FAMU's mission of excellence with caring.
Over to the left-hand side of the screen, it will list all the places and the buildings at the university. Let us visit Meet Black Archives.
Florida A&M University has a rich history that dates back more than 130 years. One of the most comprehensive collections of the university's history is located at the Meek Eaton Black Archives and Research Center. The center provides a variety of historical exhibits chronicling various eras of history. The archives serve as a primary research space for individuals of various ages, ethnicities, and interests.
Our last place that we will visit at FAMU is the Commons.
The newly renovated FAMU Commons is a place where innovative technology and student-friendly casual dining meet. The College of Science and Technology is headquartered here, with the university's main instructional technology service center also calling the Commons home. The building is complete with state-of-the-art smart classrooms. You can also find a Chick-fil-A restaurant here.
Now that was beautiful Florida A&M. Now we will go to Howard. Howard ranks among the highest producers of the nation's Black professionals in law, music, social work, and education. Let's listen to our virtual tour guide who will give us a brief history.
Welcome to Howard University, the Mecca. Established in 1867 in the nation's capital, Howard University is ranked as one of the top 100 research institutions in the country. Home to the mighty Bison, there are more than 9,000 undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. The university boasts 120 areas of study across 13 schools and colleges and is renowned for providing an exceptional educational experience in health sciences, business and communications, fine arts, law, engineering and architecture, among others. Birthed during an era of educational disparity, Howard has many groundbreaking firsts and continues to develop solutions that impact the African diaspora. Through traditional and innovative academic programs, the university remains a beacon of light for social justice. Howard's motto holds very true today: excellence in truth and service. Before we get started, let me explain the many ways you can explore our beautiful space. You can click on the forward-facing arrow to start walking around. You can jump to the next stop by clicking on the next button. Now, if you already know where you want to go, you can select any location by using the list or by clicking directly on the map. Lastly, remember that you can explore any particular location in more detail by clicking on the supplemental icons.
Just like FAMU, the places that you want to visit are always on the left-hand side. So let's look at what the Yard has to offer.
The Yard, also known as the Upper Quadrangle, is one of the most iconic and photographed destinations on campus. As the central green space between several key buildings, the energy felt on the Yard is unmatched. Students often convene on the Yard for informal gatherings, to hang out, or read a book. You might even catch an impromptu step show by one of the Greek organizations on campus. Throughout the school year, the Yard transforms into a world-class outdoor event venue and meeting spot. From Yard Fest performances during homecoming to the annual commencement exercises, the Yard is a beloved space on campus for all Bison to enjoy.
The last place that we will venture to is Green Stadium.
Green Stadium is the home of Bison football, soccer, and lacrosse, where fans pack 10,000 seats to cheer our teams to victory. Bison Athletics offers 21 NCAA Division I teams. Its primary membership is in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, MEAC, plus additional affiliations with 4 other conferences. Our student athletes pursue excellence in the classroom, on the field of play, and in the community. As a premier academic institution, we are consistently recognized for the high graduation success rate of our athletes. The Howard University Department of Athletics seeks to attract and cultivate student athletes who reflect Howard's core mission to develop leaders who will change the world.
Scholars, you can't go wrong with choosing Howard as a place to attend. Now we will go to Morehouse College. Morehouse College is located in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a college that is created for Black men. It is their own Wakanda. Let us hear a brief history of the college.
Welcome to the house. Founded February 14th, 1867, Morehouse College has since produced intellectual thinkers with both moral and social conscience, offering over 32 majors through rigorous courses of study and fostering a student experience prided on brotherhood and community. For many, our house has become a home. Since our inception, Morehouse is the only historically black college or university with a mission dedicated solely on developing men with disciplined minds who lead lives of leadership and service. We hope that you enjoy your tour.
Let's journey like the other colleges. The places where you want to visit is on the left-hand side. Let's journey to the Martin Luther King Chapel.
The Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel is a very sacred place to us here at Morehouse College, so we ask that you remove all hats and sunglasses upon entering. When you enter the lobby, you'll find 3 portraits of individuals who embody the Morehouse mystique, a concept introduced by Benjamin Elijah Mays. Maynard Jackson, alum of the college and the first black mayor of Atlanta, is one of the 3 portraits. He was instrumental in bringing the Olympics to Atlanta in 1996 and also providing a place where Olympians could stay, practice, and compete during their time here. William Jefferson White is another portrait you'll see, who is credited as the college's founder, along with Henry Lyman Morehouse, who holds the college's namesake. As you continue through the left and right wings of the chapel, you will find over 200 portraits that are frequently rotated of people who are not only impactful to Morehouse, but to the world as a whole.
Now let us journey to the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center.
The Ray Charles Performing Arts Center. Our newest building on campus, built in 2010, is home to our music department and our award-winning Morehouse College Glee Club and Band. Constructed by way of 2 generous donations from the Ray Charles Foundation, this state-of-the-art center comprises our performance auditorium, recording studios, and 9-foot Steinway pianos, not to mention the iconic tour bus of the late Ray Charles.
Let us end our tour by looking at the outdoor mural.
The Morehouse mural was painted by renowned Atlanta-based contemporary artist Fabian Occasional Superstar Williams. The 250-foot mural is a visual representation of the history of the college and was completed in 2021. It features several students, prominent alumni, and others who have been instrumental in the history of Morehouse College.
Last but not least, we will visit Tuskegee College. Tuskegee University is located in Tuskegee, Alabama. The campus is designated as the Tuskegee Institute National Historical Site by the National Park Society. The university was home to scientist George Washington Carver and the world-famous Tuskegee Airmen. This virtual tour is different than the previous school. It still offers the rich history and wonder vistas of the South.
At Tuskegee University, we've had many historical giants like Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, General Daniel Chappie James, and Robert R. Taylor. Those are some of the people that, created or started that Tuskegee experience that helped basically establish what being a Tuskegee student is all about.
Dr. Booker T. Washington instated 3 principles during his tenure as president. Industry, preparing students to do a lot for themselves, the heart, which, being of service to those around you, and of course the mind, which is knowledge. When you think about the late 1800s going into the early 1900s, that was a pivotal time for African Americans and their independence and being able to educate themselves. So I think his teaching or doctrine behind the principle of lifting the veil of ignorance is basically just showing African Americans that they can accomplish anything that they want to on their own terms.
Some of the historical rich locations that we have here at Tuskegee University would include Booker T. Washington lifting the veil monument, which basically displays the mission that Tuskegee students have. You also have the chapel that includes the beautiful singing windows. And then last but not least, our cemetery, which some of our biggest figures here at Tuskegee University lay at rest. For me, the reason why I chose Tuskegee University, because on my first visit here, it really felt like home.
I was the first in my family to actually consider Tuskegee for the institution of higher learning. I will say the availability of scholarship got me here, but its position in African American history and culture is what really made me stay.
So now we're going to go back to the right hand of the corner, which is an interactive map. And on the maps, you see little blue circles. We can click on each one of these circles and it will give us some history about the different buildings. So I'm going to click on one. It's called the Oaks. And the Oaks gives you a brief history of Booker T. Washington's home. Last but not least, we will give you a video about joining a place called home.
So Tuskegee University is not just a place where I'm earning my degree. I'm learning how to be bold. And I've actually gotten that feedback from previous internships.
Tuskegee has definitely helped me increase my leadership skills. Tuskegee pride is one of the biggest takeaways you get from the university. Not only are you getting a degree when you come here, but you're also going to get that pride for yourself. It's going to encourage you to excel even more and also just reach places that you've never reached before.
I love being at a small school, especially in the engineering classroom. I actually have a one-on-one relationship with my professors. They don't hesitate to take 20 to 30 minutes to explain something again.
The most valuable thing that Tuskegee students leave the university with, besides a great education, is definitely a family. Tuskegee is lovingly called Mother Tuskegee because she's like a mother. It's not easy at all times, but like a mother, she's there to nurture you along the way, whether it be your professors, fellow students, the community. They're always there to nurture you and help you to succeed. My parents met here. They've been able to have lifelong careers with their educations from Tuskegee.
Everybody's willing to lend a helping hand. If you need anything extra done, nobody is hesitant to get it done. And it's a place that I can literally call home for forever.
As you can see, all of these schools are different. As you think about your college future, don't forget about the HBCUs. Thank you so much. Back to you, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. That was very enjoyable. I actually, it's taking me back to my college days and how much I enjoyed being on campus. And, I want to point out something that they said in the last tour, how important it is that you feel like you're at home with the campus that you choose. Regardless of whether you want to attend an HBCU or not, it's so important that you try to visit the campus before you make a decision, if at all possible. I know that these schools that we've shown you are out of state, but any way that's possible to get to visit those campuses makes such a big deal. I know that when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to visit Spelman College. And the moment I stepped on campus is when I realized this is where I want to be. There's a special feeling that you get when you feel good about the location or the place or the campus. It's just something that clicks inside of you that makes you say, yeah, I can see myself going to school here. As Phyllis mentioned, because of COVID, we're not able to go visit all of the campuses like we used to be able to. So the next best thing are virtual tours. And I can't emphasize it enough. If you can't visit the campus, take the virtual tour. Just kind of get a chance to eyeball it and see how the campus looks and the layout. And, some people feel like they want a smaller school. Some people want to go to a large school. You'll get a really good feel for that when you take advantage of the virtual tours. And again, it's very important that you feel comfortable with the campus that you choose. Does anyone else on this call, any of my sorority sisters have joined us? Do any of you guys have anything that you'd like to add to that?
One of the things I wanted to ask Stacy is that when you go to a virtual tour, the whole family can go.
Yes.
Versus when you have to travel, you know, sometimes income limit, spending limit, you know, what you can do. But virtually grandma can go, auntie can go, everybody, so they can see where you're going to be.
Yep. And if you're going to be spending, you know, time there, you definitely want it to feel like home, feel comfortable. So that's why I think it's very important to try to visit it if all possible. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to contribute to this? No? Okay, so I see that we have a few more students that have joined us since we started the call. Would any of you like to come off mute for just a minute and share with us what you'd like to study when you go to college? We're trying to get a list of all the careers that you guys are interested in, because in December, we're going to have a career panel where we're going to invite some professionals that work in the different industries that you guys have expressed interest in. But I need to know those careers. So please come off of mute and share with us.
Hi, my name is Jillian. I'm in the 10th grade and I want to study children's psychology.
Very good. Thank you, Jillian. You said children's psychology, right? Children's?
Yeah.
Okay. Out of curiosity, may I ask why?
Because I'm a Girl Scout and I'm one of the oldest in my troop, I have to work a lot with the younger kids. Oh, excuse me. And I just tend to enjoy helping people. And I work better with people who are younger than me than with people who are around the same age as me. So I feel like if I was going to go into psychology, working with children would be something that I would be better with.
Very
than
good.
Just general psychology.
Okay. Very good. I like that. Very good. Are there any other students on the call who would like to share? Please come off mute.
I can go ahead. Hello,
Hi, Dylan.
Hello, my name is Dylan Branch. I'm also a 10th grader, and I want to get into real estate. Yeah. So.
And what's drawing you into real estate?
Well, all I know is that you can make a good amount of money off of it. So, yeah. And I'm not gonna say it's one of the easier jobs, but it's not so much as there are like many different types of real estate. So it's not really like a 9-to-5 job that you have to essentially work for somebody for. So
okay. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for sharing. So let me ask you guys another question. How many of you plan to go to college out of state? Does anybody want to go to school out of state, or do you want to stay in California? Let me know. What are your plans?
Out of state.
Out of state? Okay. All right. Thanks, Dylan. Who else?
Both in or out of state. I don't really have a preference.
Okay. All right. Has anyone considered a historically Black college or university? Is there any interest in that at all? Maybe? Yes? No? Yes, Dylan. Okay, very good. All right, let me see.
Yeah, it'd be a good change to finally not be a minority for once. So.
Yep, okay, I hear you. All right, very good. Okay, well, we are going to move on with our program this evening, and we're going to start talking about financial literacy. But before I introduce our next speaker, I do have another question for you guys. How many of you have jobs, like a part-time job, or are planning to get a job this summer? Who's working? Which students are working right now or planning to get a job?
Me.
Is that Dylan?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You working now, or you going to get a job this summer?
Both actually.
Okay, all right. So do you have a budget for yourself? Like, do you get your paycheck and you just go shopping and buying anything you want, or do you kind of have a plan for how you like to spend your money?
Yeah, so I'm kind of an entrepreneur. I'm in the shoe reselling business.
Oh.
So I don't like work for anybody except myself, which is great. I don't have to answer to anybody or anything like that. So with the money that I make, like with the profit and things like that, I try to put that away and try to keep reusing that same, like, let's just say I start off with 200 and then I buy a shoe and sell it for 300. I put 100 away and try to keep going with that 200 as best as I can, making profit and saving as much as I can along the way.
Wow. So you're reinvesting it. Okay. Very good. That's smart. Very smart. Okay. Who else would like to share?
Stacey, it's Nakia.
Hi, Nakia.
Hey, may I ask Dylan a question?
Sure.
Dylan, I just want to know, I'm so impressed that you're an entrepreneur at such a young age. Do you have that on your resume? Because I think it's really important that you show that you're an entrepreneur on your resume.
I do have that on my resume. And I'm going to be honest, it's not fully complete, but it is on there.
That's good. That's good. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That is good. So I would like to remind the students, there are a few I see that have joined us within the past few minutes. Please add in the chat your first and last name, what year you are in school, and what you'd like to study when you go to college, please. Okay, I see some of you guys have put that in there, but I don't see it from everybody. So again, first and last name, what you'd like to study, and what year you are in school. Okay, does anyone have any questions about the last presentation about how to do virtual tours, or would you like any additional information about colleges and virtual tours? No? Okay. Quiet bunch tonight. Okay, that's okay. We're going to keep rolling. So next up, we have a presentation by Dominique Richards. She's going to speak to you about financial literacy. I highly encourage you to take notes, ask questions, use the chat, show your faces on the screen, and make this as interactive as possible. Okay, Dominique, take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So I'll start it off by just talking a little bit about myself and why I'm passionate about this topic of money and budgeting. Like she said, my name is Dominique, and I know we just finished talking about the career event that will be held later this year. And so I always think it's important when in front of crowds like this to just talk a little bit about what I do, because I know that when I was your age, I didn't even know that it wasn't a career. And from working in this career, it's given me the passion to know about budgeting, to know about money, to know about gives and takes, and really how to make your money stretch. And then really just the knowledge to know what I wish I would have known back when I was in high school, or what I wish some of the people that I used to work with would have known to make the job a little bit easier. So I currently work for Amazon Music, and I work directly on building the deals for the record labels that stream their music on the platform. Before I did this, for 10 years, I worked as a tour accountant and budgeted all of the tours for artists such as Travis Scott. I worked for Beyonce for a while, Jason Derulo, Britney Spears, J-Lo residencies, you name it. I could probably tell you that I've worked on their tours and their budgets. And so it was literally, I learned as I went, but I didn't know that was a career. I went to a career fair when I was in college, and someone presented as an intern for this job. And fast forward 10 years later, I was budgeting, major tours. But from this, like I said, I learned the importance of budgeting, building a budget, knowing what you can afford and what you cannot afford. And also, going through college and learning the gives and the takes of that. And so this is an interactive presentation. So I recommend, if you guys have anything to say, please unmute. Please, just take advantage of having myself plus a wealth of information from the other ladies that are on the call as well. There's no wrong question. And obviously we wish, a lot of us wish we would have had this when we were your age. And so we'll just dive in to talk a little bit about money and utilize the chat function also. So to start, we'll talk a little bit about this or that. So obviously everything costs money, and you could either have the car on the left, which is this, or the car on the right, which is that. Feel free to put in the chat which you prefer, car this or car that. Please let me know.
What is the car on the left?
You know, it's what you can, if you don't budget well, or it is what you can afford. Or if you budget well and save your money, you're likely to afford the other car. All right, so obviously they both cost money, but that is a nicer option than this. Now we'll go with one that's a little bit more fun. All right, car this or car that? Car this is the G-Wagon and car that is the Tesla.
Ooh.
Both. I would for sure be okay with both also. But the point of this, obviously, again, is different cars, two completely separate price ranges. But with budgeting and saving your money in the long term, they're both achievable. But also, yes, to no gas on the Tesla. So that might be a better choice long term. And then finally, to bring it back to a little bit more realistic, basically having the car that was, it's been handed down generations because you forgot to save, or a nice new Prius that will be great in taking you to and from campus, to your job every day. So those are the two options. And again, either is fine because either gets you from point A to point B if it's safe. I'm not sure if car this is that safe, but I'll say this, with preparation and with savings, car that, the new Prius is very achievable. So we'll dive in. All right, so with that, a little bit of realistic, what you can and what you can't afford. Let's do a little poll. We can bring up the poll now. And for all of our high school students we're going to transport ourselves to the post-college 22-year-old version of you and just ask 2 questions. Feel free to complete the poll and submit, and then we will go from there. Okay. Everyone should have had a chance to submit. Can we pull up the results if they're available?
Yes. Okay. Ending the poll.
Okay. All right. So we're good. This is a realistic bunch of people who kind of know generally what, fresh out of college, what you're making and what your monthly average car price is. To just dive in a little bit deeper, the research shows that the average monthly income is around $3,200 post-college, and that is a good job, entry-level job, and that's your monthly income. But then, of course, we live in California, so you likely have to factor in 9% of taxes, which is about $335. And then, living in California, your monthly rent is, about $1,900, give or take. And that leaves you with a good $975 left after everything. And then when you subtract your average monthly car payment, which is right there at around, whoever said $200 a month, that is around average for your, $20,000 car if your credit is in a good place. And we'll dive into that later. But this, I just wanted to do a realistic transporting you to the version of fresh out of college. You're making more money than you've made in your entire life, but realistically, with the rent and with payroll taxes, which we can't, avoid, and your car note and all that, you can kind of see that you're making a little bit, what you have left over to save towards your goals is not as much as you probably would have thought. So, okay. So with that kind of overview of just what's being realistic, let's take the journey into what we can and what we can't afford. So today, we'll talk a little bit about stacking your money and what that takes to do that. Next, we'll talk about credit and specifically no capping on credit. And then we'll transition into the two of those combined to the ultimate goal of buying your first wheels, or your first apartment, or whatever you have. The recipe is kind of the same with the savings, but today we'll focus on buying your first car. Okay, so first things first, how do you get your money up? Essentially, you have to stack your money. And what that comes down to is budget. And we talked, I know, Dylan, thank you in advance for giving us like the overview of how you budget. And you're definitely further along at your age than I can say I for sure was. And with that more than a lot of the artists that I worked with that started at your age know about creating a budget. And the wants versus needs and how to save your leftovers. So thank you for that. Yes, thank you. But again, what is a budget? Just to bring it back to a basic level. And that's essentially just a plan to spend your money. You know what you have coming in. Thank goodness you have a job, or whatever you have coming in. If you've taken in loans, and you know what you have left over, and that will be your income to live. But this is essentially a plan to spend that money allocated that you have to live. So be honest with yourself and create a realistic budget of income and basic needs versus wants. So basic needs, food, shelter, things like that. Wants, going out every weekend. I mean, college is fun, but also if you're saving to buy that car, if you're saving to, for that first apartment, you definitely have to create a boundary and say, okay, well, maybe I can only go out once a month because I know that every time I go out, it takes X amount of dollars. So just reversing a little bit, we'll go determine your monthly income. How much money do you have coming in? The second step to creating a budget is to determine your expenses and track that. And so if you don't know your expenses, what you could do to ramp up for a month is just literally take a look at everything that you have coming out. Take a look at the amount of times that you go to McDonald's. Take a look at the amount of times that you don't have a car yet. So you could take the amount of times that you're lifting around, anything, your rent, your renter's insurance, all of those things to take into a factor of your spending. And then from there, you allocate your income to your expenses. So then you just deduct what you have going out versus you have what you have coming in, and deduct to what you have coming out. And that's essentially how you create a budget. And in creating a budget and determining what to save, that requires you doing your research. And obviously, if you're getting excited about a car, you're online every day looking at, all of the websites of what cars the dealerships have and what you would like versus, again, what you would want. But again, be realistic with yourself and create realistic expectations for your specific income. I think that is the most important thing when you look at buying your first car to being in your entry-level job. It is being realistic with yourself and not comparing yourself or your, the car that you want or anything else to anybody else, because you're on your own journey. So in doing your research, you will need to determine a down payment amount, and that down payment amount is what your savings goal will be towards that amount. So if that down payment amount is, $3,000 or, $1,000, you can, plan to say, okay, this time next year, I'm going to have, this amount of money towards the down payment, save $100 every month, but that's kind of how you create that goal. This is a great example of a budget that I love, that I personally use, because it helps you allocate literally every single cent that you have going in and out. Because sometimes when we say, well, we're just going to save whatever money that we have left over, it's great, but it leaves kind of a blanket fund to pull from, versus saying that, like, okay, I know that, hold on, let me look at the chat. Yeah, figure out a way to make passive income that will pretty much pay for your car monthly for you, right? Absolutely. If you can figure out a way to increase your income, so that passive income, even if that's driving for one of the rideshare services, will pay for that car, that's great. Any way that you can increase your income. If you find out that the car you want, it costs more than what you have coming in right now, then the option is to scale down to that budget, or to be strategic and, rideshare services, grocery delivery services, other things that you can do to create more income. So yes, Dylan, you are exactly right for that passive income. But going back to, so you have more money coming in, that's great. Let's allocate this. And so with this, it allocates every single dollar so that your leftover amount at the end of that specific pay period is zero. So as you can see, with the rent, utilities, groceries, phone bill, all of this is allocated to a certain amount. And even like miscellaneous, in my personal budget, I don't use that amount for miscellaneous. I allocate it to whatever it is that I'm working towards. If that's car savings, house savings, savings towards, we'll talk about this in a little bit, about my registration annually. All of those things. And I create a budget based on pay period. So I get paid every 2 weeks. And so my budget is based on every 2 weeks. And, if you get paid monthly, you will take your total monthly income and allocate it like this. But for me, I found what's best is like every 2 weeks, I know what I have coming in, my mortgage payment, that's at the first of the month. And then the second month, I create a different budget because I have a little bit more discretionary income. And so this, again, is an example of a great budget that will really help you stay on track to your goals, bills, budgeting, all of that.
Ms. Dominique, can you share what is discretionary income?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for that. So discretionary income is just more money that you have that is not specifically allocated to any of those basic needs. So for me, my basic needs are, paying my mortgage every month and paying my car note, paying my insurance, and making sure that I have food. Now that food may not be, a brunch every weekend, but that could be just, and so on my zero-based budget, I do have a brunch line item because I love to go to brunch. And so I allocate that certain amount, especially from the second check where I have more money that is not based on my basic needs, because the first check will cover the basic needs, all of those essential bills. And then the second check, I allocate that budget to, okay, I'm going to go out with my friends. This is the allotment that I have for brunch during this pay period. This is the allotment that I have. If I want to eat out 2 nights a week, I have a line item for that also. So it just helps me to keep track of, okay, now you want to have a little fun with your discretionary money. This is the amount that you can still have allocated and still save towards your goals. Thank you for asking that.
Dominique, I think there's a question in the chat from Dylan.
Yes, we talked about the passive, and then yes to buying used if you can. I always recommend it. I think it's definitely a wise choice. We'll dive a little bit more into the use versus what that means and all of that in a second, so that you guys can kind of understand that. But the next thing that we'll kind of get into is just talking about credit. And I welcome this to be, the ladies on the chat to jump in and chime in also with their experience on credit. But basically with credit, there's no capping on credit. It is what it is. You can repair it later on, but at your age, if you start right, then you're more likely to be on the right track for this excellent 720, 850 range. Your name is associated with your credit, and it follows you from the time you open credit, from high school to college age to beyond. And so it's so important, and the numbers don't lie, and the numbers determine what is called your credit worthiness. And essentially what credit is your promise to pay, and how your credit worthiness is how much you can be trusted on your promise to pay. So this range, which this is, this range, 300 to 400 to 500 credit FICO score it's not good. But I will say that if you're in this range, you don't have a good reputation established for paying yet. It could be that you don't have a lot of credit history because, at your age, you don't have an established, you maybe haven't had years and years of credit, and that's okay. And so that may result to that versus, if my credit is at 720 and 850, that means that I have pretty good history of paying everything that I say I'm going to pay. And the interesting thing about credit and tying it into buying a car is the better your credit is in that good to excellent range, the lower your interest rate is going to be. And that essentially, again, is your cost to borrow the money. And so if I have a good history of keeping my word and paying things back, then my car payment is going to reflect that, and my interest rate is going to be lower. Versus if I don't really have any history, no one really knows my word. No one really knows if I'm going to pay it back. They're kind of taking a chance on me. That's going to be a higher interest rate because my credit might be in the low sixes to high fives to get a car. So that's basically the overview of credit and how it falls into the importance of buying a car. And yes, Dylan, let's see, yep. So if your payments are made in time, that is correct. So making payments on time is absolutely 100% correct. And if you can pay more than the minimum amount, that is also helpful to your credit. And sometimes you can only pay the minimum amount, and that's okay. But pay something. And if you cannot pay the minimum amount, you have to call whatever the bill company is and let them know that you can't pay that, because essentially they'll work with you. But what they don't, because again, that's your word, what they don't like is when they don't hear from you and you don't pay. Does anyone else on the call have anything to say regarding credit or want to chime in and add anything?
Actually, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll say, I remember, so I went to West LA College and I transferred to Cal State Long Beach. And I remember when I was in school, there were people that would share, they would say, oh, come and get a Subway sandwich. And they wanted us to sign up for our credit card and get a Subway sandwich, right? Basically food. So you guys, do not fall for it. And the thing is, you want to be strategic about, like Miss Dominique is saying, you want to be strategic about getting credit cards because it's about how you're paying it back. They want to see, they can trust you with, when you buy something, are you going to pay it right off, and you want to you're building up your credit. So that was one thing that I saw that I was like, oh no, but it was so tempting because, you're college, you're like, oh, but do not fall for it. I'm telling you guys, you're going to feel tempted, but don't do it.
So my question is, how do you establish credit, especially when you're just getting started, just just getting your first job or have a little part-time job while you're in school, what do you have to do to even get credit?
Well, it's to start it off, it's more easy than you think, or than you guys could probably think. So it's that, your first phone bill payment, your first phone bill that's in your name, that reflects on your credit. So making those in a timely payment, you just got your first, you're not on your parents' line anymore. You're going to continue paying your bills on your own. So signing up for your first phone line, that builds your credit. Also, your first apartment, your electricity, and paying that bill on time, that builds it as well. And then also one thing that builds it, which doesn't require a lot of credit, is those starter cards where you pay $200, like the Capital One, you pay $200 on the card. So it's almost like I can't remember exactly what they call it, but you pay $200 and you have that $200 to spend. So basically it's like a prepaid card. So you paid it in advance and said, load my card with this $200, and then you pay that, you spend only what you pay on it. And it's a good card because you've already prepaid that amount, and because you've used it and it's counting towards your credit. And then from there, you can then continue to pay off the monthly amount. And then over time, because you've kept your promise to pay and prepay on that Capital One card, they then start giving you credit little by little. And this was like how I got my first credit card. It started as I prepaid the $200, and then from there it grew and grew and grew from the amount of credit that they give me. But again, once you get to college, you'll be tempted by not the prepaid cards, but the cards that say, I'll give you $5,000 in credit, and you have $0 in credit already. And that, as a broke college student, is very tempting. And also because you get, for example, the free pizza or the Subway sandwiches or whatever, or the free t-shirt, and you're like, $5,000 free money, but you don't have $5,000 coming in. So you have to be honest with yourself. If I sign up for this credit with $5,000, I can't afford to pay back the money that I would spend on it. So it's probably not a good choice for me. So that's how I built my credit. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add in.
See, Dylan has in the questions there, about him starting his own credit, but he said, well, what if you don't have any bills to pay yet? Or if you have a parent or family that has good credit but makes their payments on time, wouldn't that help you when you turn 18?
No, because their credit is not your credit. Your credit is associated with your name and with your specific social security card. And so even though your parent has great credit, that has nothing to do with your credit worthiness, nothing to do with your credit history. And if you're under 18 and you don't have any bills to pay, that's okay. Maybe it's not yet the time, but again, I would start with, I keep referencing like the Capital One prepaid card, because it starts out as a prepaid card where you put $200 on it, you spend that, and then you get, but it gives you more credit by like $50 increments to help you build your credit. And that additional $50 is what the credit that they're giving you, not of the $200 that you prepaid on there. So they give you little by little, but it helps to build that. And so you could use that for things like, if you're saving for a car, you could use that specifically for Ubers and Lyfts, and remember to pay off that as soon as you get it. Little things like that. If you are, if you get lunch money or you go out with your friends and you start out with a starter card or something of that nature, and remember to pay it off, that helps you build your credit. So by the time you go, if you do have a job in college, or you start making that passive income, and you want to buy a car, you're ahead of the game versus, some of your other peers who won't have any credit. If that makes sense.
Ms. Dominique, can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Dylan. Ask your question.
Thank you. So I'm asking if this is I'm not saying that if you're like to say my mom has good credit, then when I turn 18, I'll have good credit. I'm asking if she puts me if I co-sign under one of her credit cards and she makes her payments on time, will that affect me or not? Or no?
Yeah, it will. It definitely will. It'll definitely help to build up your credit. as long as those payments have a history of being paid on time and will be paid on time, it definitely can help your credit and help you build that credit for sure.
All right, thank you.
And Dominique, one more thing I just wanted to add to what you were saying in the previous slide about the budget. It's one thing to be able to afford your car note, but don't forget you also need to, well, you do have on your budget, I was about to say, the insurance for your car and gas for your car. And, you know, if you have a used car, you're probably going to have to eventually pay some maintenance on it. So there's a lot of expenses to take into consideration with a car. And if you can wash, unless you can wash it at home by hand yourself, you're going to want to keep your car clean. That's another expense that goes with it. And getting it waxed every couple months or every year or however often you do it, and oil changes. But yeah, so there are quite a few expenses that go along with having a car, but it's still a good investment, I think. Better than having to take public transportation all the time.
Right. Or in the ages of, you know, that's another way to just burn through money is like, you know, if you don't have a car and you continue to use like public transportation or like renting cars, but you don't have a car, you have a driver's license, so you're renting cars all the time, it may be best to create a savings plan so that you can work towards that car. So next we'll transition to, okay, so you stacked your money, you build up your credit, you've been working towards this, you got your money up, you're headed to buy a car. What do you need to bring? And these were just some things that I thought of at the top of my head. And I think I left out one, which we'll talk about. But essentially, to buy a car, you need to bring your driver's license. So you should have a driver's license when you go to buy a car. 2 months of pay statements, and it may be less, but this just needs to show that you have some money coming in. Because again, if we talk about creditness and credit worthiness and their promise to pay, if I can show the dealers and the lenders that I have money coming in, they're more likely to give me an opportunity to buy a car because they can show that I have income to repay it. And usually you'll have to show proof of residence in some way. And that just determines off of, you know, if we're transporting you to the 22-year-old you, that's usually like a lease, or, you know, if it's you, maybe it's mail with your name on it or otherwise, but some kind of proof of residence. And now to buy a car, you need before you drive off the lot, you have to show that you have insurance. And so that takes into account doing your research in advance and finding reasonable insurance that you can pay and that you feel has proper coverage. And so that would be, you know, to cover the car and to cover you, or, you know, whatever your insurance person thinks is best. But usually, you know, if you have a parent or something, they can kind of guide you with that. Or, you know, there's a lot of services like Geico or a State Farm or things like that that are pretty user friendly in order to quickly get that insurance needed. But I wanted to bring this to the table because a lot of people are not aware that you do need, you know, if I want to walk out of the lot today with a car, I at least need to come with my proof of income to show them. And I'm more likely to get the best deal if I can show that I have income coming in. Okay, so again, we're at the dealership. You found a car you love, and let's talk about all of the components that go into this car. So you've done your research, you're gonna buy within your budget because you now know what you can afford based on your down payment amount. Your credit score, you've spent a while trying to get that up and knowing what your score is in advance. And then essentially, again, your down payment, which is your budget. And your credit score, believe it or not, does have something to do with your down payment amount. So the better your credit score is, possibly the lower amount down that you have to put, because again, you have a promise to pay, and with good score means you have good history of paying the lenders. And so they're more likely to give you the car with less money down, if that makes sense. Okay. I missed this chat, so we'll go back to it with Nicole. Keep in mind that not all credit card report authorized users and payment history to the credit bureaus. It depends on the financial institution. So if you're an authorized user on your parents' card, then it would help to establish credit history, but it's not vary but it does vary by a financial institution. That is such a good point that I think many people don't understand. So again, yes, it could help you with being on your parents' credit card, but not all of that is, as a secondary person, is reported to the bureaus. And so again, it's best to find a card that you can quickly repay, and maybe something like a prepaid card that does report to the bureaus in order to help establish that credit. Because if you're added to your parents' card, there's no guarantee that that is going to reflect on your specific credit. But again, it just takes a little bit of research and calling the companies and asking them. But really, again, we want to drive home the importance of building your credit slowly and starting off slow with a $200 limit of something of that sort and continuing to pay that off, and so that they, can give you more and more over time. Okay, so we talked about the car loan, everything that comes into that with your budget, credit score, down payment, into the car loan. And so this one I wanted to just be on for a while because it's not much on the slide, but it's definitely a lot to talk about. Negotiating the best deal. And so essentially a car deal structure has to do with the price of the car. So your $20,000 sticker price that you see on a car, the interest rate, and your interest rate is determined again by your credit score. And the last part of that is the terms or the length of the loan. And something that we'll talk high level about is leasing versus purchasing after we kind of see a scenario on the right-hand side to just see how it all comes together. So car A and car B have the same sticker price, and that is what you see as car price. It's $20,000 car. Your interest rate on car A is 18%, which is a high interest rate for a car. Your interest rate on car B is a low interest rate for a car. 3% is very, very, very low on a car payment. But that must be because you have stellar credit and you have repaid every single cent back in a timely manner. You paid more than your amount due. And so that is what you've been gifted the privilege of paying a 3% interest rate. And then we'll talk about the terms. So of these two cars, so the interest rate, the car price, the interest rate on the car A is $3,600. The interest rate on car B is $600. And this is just a high level overview. Obviously it gets more complicated, but the price plus the interest rate on car A results in $23,600. The car interest rate on car B is $20,600. Terms, we'll just say a 72-month term to repay your loan. So the same car at the same price of $20,000 results in a monthly payment of $3,027, or car B as $286. Sorry, I said that wrong. $327 and then $286. So you can see this is a clear example of the benefits of having good credit, because the same car can be lower every month based on your credit worthiness. I also wanted to touch on, like I said, leasing versus purchasing. And leasing is an okay option as well. That usually is given to you in terms of 3-year terms and is usually kind of reserved for those who have great credit, because leasing means that you're going to make your payments on time and return that car at year 3. And so the better your credit is, the better your options are with the leasing option. The purchase option is different from that because your terms are not, you're promised to send it. You're not borrowing. You're not borrowing the car. Essentially, you're borrowing the money for that car and repaying that over time, if that makes sense. Let me look at the chat. There is also closing costs and things of fees and payments. Yeah, in some cases, there's a lease with the intent to buy. That's a good point. But in most cases, most dealerships, it's leasing or purchasing. But yes, that is an option. And yes, in order to have a solid payment of things like the closing costs to the dealer, all of those things, there's not so much on a car as much as a car as it is on a thing such as like a house. But there are additional fees that are sometimes taken into account at the final table when you purchase a car. Does anyone else have anything to add on kind of the terms of a car? I know we did, and just briefly, we'll talk about negotiating the best deal, but I wanted to know if anyone else has anything to add in on this part of a deal structure.
So is 72 months average, or is that the normal amount or standard time frame?
Yeah, 72 months is kind of standard. And unless you tell them that you want a different term, or, again, with the better your credit is, the more you have, the more that you put down. These are the terms that are negotiable. Your terms, the amount that you put down in order to get, sometimes you can get a lower interest rate if you put more down, or you can get a lower term to pay back in less months, but 72 months is about the standard. I'm not sure if anyone else has seen anything else, but it can also go way longer, not too much longer, but 72 months is about the standard.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, and so I talked briefly about it now, but these are the things that you can negotiate. If you saved more, you can definitely try to negotiate a better interest rate. If you put more money down, you can negotiate the terms. If you would like for your monthly payment to be lower, then you can ask for an extended amount of months on your term and see if the bank will offer you that. And that will result in obviously a lower monthly payment, but it will be over a longer period of time. So you'll be paying the money out longer, you'll be paying out more interest rate over time. So essentially paying more for the car, the more you extend your terms, if that makes sense. Okay, and we did briefly touch on this, but I think it's so important as we talk about budgeting and keeping all things in mind that you saved, you worked hard for that down payment, you worked hard to buy your car, but there's so much other things that come into the account that you have to be prepared for, because just saving that $100 a month that you worked to buy the car, now you've got to save almost 4 times that and have that allocated to spend on your car. So this is taking into things like your car payment, your gas, what you spend on gas monthly, depending on where you're going. Gas is very expensive here in LA right now. So that could be as much as, if you have a job that's far, that could be as much as $40, $50 a week. And insurance, that as, someone who's younger, your insurance could be as much as, $200 or more a month. So that is, your insurance agent would give you the best quote for you, but that is, at a rate of $200 a month, that's honestly pretty good for a young person. And then also something that you have to consider is maintenance fees. And essentially it's your rainy day fee for your car, taking into account that things happen, right? One day anything could go wrong with the car, even if it's a new car. There are things happen with them, and if you're lucky that there'll be a warranty that you'll have, but things happen, and so you want to make sure that you are allocating, if it's $50 per pay period or whatever, so that when you have things that go wrong with the car, you're able to fix them. And the other thing that I thought it was important to talk about is registration and saving for registration. Because this is an annual thing that you have to do for your car. And the newer your car is, the higher your registration is going to be. And so, if you have that new Mercedes, whatever, your registration could be as much as $1,000. But, if your car is more modest, then your registration is a little bit lower. But, these are annual payments that you have to plan on paying. And so keeping that, if you go back to your zero-based budget, you know, if your miscellaneous item is maintenance and registration, then it helps for when there are things that go wrong, you don't completely, you know, shut down and not know how to pay it. And then,
hey, Dominique.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
talking. No, go ahead.
It's Nakia. I just wanted to share, and it sounds a little negative, but I just want the students to know that insurance is important, and Dominique did include it, but I want you guys to know that I've used insurance because my car has been stolen in my life. I've had a car accident. And so these things, they really do happen. And not that they're it doesn't have to be your fault. And the other person can also not have insurance. So paying your insurance is important. And secondly, another cost is to have AAA or some other kind of roadside assistance because I've been locked out, tire flat, all of those things.
Yes, so important. Like, and these are the things, again, we wish that, I know some of these things I've had to learn the hard way by not having them, such as the roadside assistant. But I mean, it is an extra line item that you do have to budget for, but you know, locking your keys in your car, running out of gas, or you've left your light on and you're working late and you know, you have no one to call to let you in the car, but that $50 a month or whatever you've allocated for that roadside assistance, it is a lifesaver. So things like that, they're important. And especially if you're going off to a college where you don't know anyone, it's helpful to have that roadside assistance allocated just to feel a little bit safer about where you're going and coming and going. Anyone else?
And Dominique, can I also add that it's important when it comes to insurance that you don't let your friends drive your car. Everybody should not be able to have your keys or drive your car, because if something happens to that car, if they're not on your policy, you don't get coverage. So it's very important that you don't let your buddies drive your car, or your cousins or your aunts or whatever. Just, you know, keep it to whoever is insured on your policy.
Absolutely. I cannot stress that enough. So, and it'll be tempting when you get your first car, but again, remembering that you are the one that's responsible, and if anything happens and that person's not on the insurance, then that's more money allocated out of your budget to pay for something that you did not cause and you did not have coverage for. So yeah, very important.
And I do see a question in the chat from Dylan.
I think we got that one about the closing costs.
No, yes. The lease with intent to buy.
Yes, we did talk about that one.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. And then where are we at? Let's see. Okay, so this is one of the last tips, but we kind of talked about it, but I think we're all kind of just throwing in gems and hoping that, you know, for all the students on, something sticks. So just to hit it again one last time, it's so important. Credit is all about your worthiness and your promise to pay. And if you can't pay, they trust everything but your word. So you can call them and tell them that maybe something's happened and you need to work out a payment plan. But it's always so important to communicate that with your lender, even if you cannot pay. They will work with you. They just want to hear from you. What the credit, with the loans, with the banks, what they don't like is when they don't hear from you, because again, your word is everything for credit. And so if you have made a promise to pay, you don't pay, and you don't communicate it, that's when they report it to the bureaus. That's when your credit score goes down. And that's when it's going to be harder for you to get your apartment, or, you know, later on down the line, a house, or even a new phone line, because you haven't communicated properly or kept your word to pay. And we talked about it, just to drill it in again. Do not sign up for just anything that your name is attached to. Always think about the 22-year-old you, fresh out of college, trying to establish a life. You want the best credit in order to give you the best options for the best car, the best apartment, the best chances to have the lower rate, so that you're not spending, you know, more money for the same car. You know, so they're going to be on campus, those credit card companies trying to appease you and appeal to you with the free t-shirts and the pizza. Please just no. There's plenty. You can do your own research on the best option to build your credit over time, but those are not it. And those you will spend a lifetime trying to, if you don't have $5,000 coming in, you do not need to sign up for a card that gives you $5,000 as a college student making not that much money. So again, to bring it all back, take care of your cable bills also, your light bills. These things affect your credit worthiness also. You guys don't have these bills yet, but you will eventually. And you have to think, okay, needs versus wants. Maybe you will only need internet because that is the lowest price. And maybe you don't need the cable and then you save the other amount to budget and save towards the car. But these are just some things that, be honest with yourself, stay in your lane, what you can afford, what you cannot afford. This is your own journey, and you don't let anybody rush you on that journey. So you keep it real with yourself and only spend what you can afford to pay back, and only spend what you can afford. And that's all I got. So with that, I feel like, you should feel empowered to have that first car, to drive, to, be proud about where you are in life and where you're going. And yeah, is there any questions that you guys have? I want to address the chat with Nicole's comment, and that credit cards in college are so tempting. Yeah, that that t-shirt, that sandwich, that pizza, in the instance where you're signing up, it seems like a quick option. You put your social security number down on a piece of paper, but it's not worth it in the long run. And I would say that a million times. If that's my one advice that sticks with you, do not sign up for those credit cards on the first week, first 2 weeks, or even first year of college, because it is not worth it in the long run. Is there any questions that any of the students have and want to chime in? Any other gems that the ladies on the call want to embark on you guys before we leave?
No questions? Everybody knows what they need to know to go buy a car now? You ready? Dylan, you can ask as many questions as you'd like. I appreciate your questions.
Yes, thank you for being interactive. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You definitely know a lot more than I did at my age. And like I said, more than some of the artists that I've worked with and had to teach them about credit, or teaching them about, well, if you want to spend that, then you need to go out and make more money. And you understand that, and a lot of them did not. So I appreciate your knowledge and sharing that with us. So thank you.
Yeah, that's how Macy's got me in college. Macy's got me first, and I swore if I ever paid them off, I'm done with Macy's. But I had a wardrobe though, and when you're in college, that's a big deal. I had a wardrobe, so wow.
Well, like in the chat, it says, which kind of car do you want? Do you want this or do you want that? So what kind of cars do you guys want? Put it in the chat. What kind of car do you guys want? And Miss Stacy, do you mind me sharing about our upcoming events? Okay, come on, Kia, Honda Accord, Nissan Altima. All right, Dylan, I see you. Okay, what about the rest of you? What kind of cars do you guys want? Okay, that's right.
Yeah, Dylan, that's such a good advice, because you can get those cars that are, the rental car companies, when it's not so new to them anymore, or a lot of times they'll get cars directly from Nissan themselves and use them just to have them as used cars, and put the mileage on, and the cars are cheaper that way. And so that's a very smart way of getting a reasonable car directly from the source. So that's awesome that you know that.
All right. Well, you all, Miss Dominique, you have been awesome. Thank you so much. Can you guys give her a round of applause? Because really, you guys will soon be dipping in your car, you know, when you drive like this, well, you know, the guys be driving like this, girls, you know, you hold it down at the bottom, you know, you be like, you know, driving around in your car. And so I remember when I got my first car, it was an '89 Nissan Maxima, right? And I was just happy to be driving, right? Because I was very much on the bus. So so even as you guys embark on your cars and college and the next thing, even as you're finishing high school, all those things, you can start preparing now and make sure your credit is tight, because it makes a difference for a lot of things in your life as well. And so I want to share, next week we have a really awesome event for our seniors. And so we want you to join us, just like you RSVP for this event today. You're going to go to wootencenter.org/events. And so seniors, you can go ahead, share with your friends. Right here, you're going to see this on our events page. If you could put it down there in the chat, Miss Marlene, that'd be awesome. And you can RSVP. So the topic is, so you're going to college, now what? All right. So we want to make sure you all are prepared, that you've thought about, like, you know, healthy eating, managing your time, enjoying extracurricular activities, studying abroad. I mean, do you want to go to Spain or China? Well, you know, I know right now things are starting to open back up, right? But even if it was like to a nearby, you know, location. So any study abroad, or even as things open up, you know, participating in work study, and internships. And so you all want to make sure you're taking advantage of all those opportunities. Even for this summer, we also have job opportunities that are available. And so you want to check out our wootencenter.org/teens. And actually on this page, you'll see other teen jobs. And let me pull it up here for you. And scholarships that you can receive for college. We have our Ron Glass scholarship, so be sure to click here to complete that as well. And then if you want to have, who wants to have a job for the summer? Put it in the chat. Like, for real, do you want to make some money this summer? Okay, I see the chat. Okay, I see me. Awesome. Okay, so you're going to click here. And when you click on this page here, it will take you, it will take you to this download page here where it says Jobs for Teens. Do you guys see that on my screen? Yes? Okay, awesome. So there's all these wonderful opportunities. HireLAYouth.com. For those of you who are here in Los Angeles, this is really important. This is actually connected to a lot of different agencies, to a lot of these other agencies. So when you apply there, all these different agencies will pull from youth who have applied here through Hire LA Youth. And all of these other organizations are great for you to connect with. You can meet with them and you can have a paid internship for 120 hours, $15 an hour. This
summer. I'm sorry, I thought it was...
I hear you, Dylan. You like, okay, let's do it, right? And so you guys, you can really take advantage of this and see it here on our page, and for sure fill out the scholarships for those of you who are graduating this year, or just in general, but especially for you who are graduating, take advantage of the scholarships. They are available for you. And so I know we asked who's working in the chat, who wants to work, who wants to make some extra money, you know. Internships are great because you get to build your experience and figure out if you say, okay, I want to do animation, I want to do business, real estate, nursing, I want to be a graphic designer, I want to major in child psychology. You know, you want to get some actual experience in that area, because when you're actually doing it, it's one thing to say you want to do it, but then when you're actually doing it, you want to make sure this is what you love to do, right? And so that will give you that expertise, because you may be under the umbrella of it and you may do it in some different ways. So this will give you experience. And even like Miss Stacy said, we're going to bring in speakers. She's going to bring in speakers to help to share with you all like what it really takes to be in that field. And I think that's really cool, right? So you're going to get the ins and outs, like all the, you know, all the tidbits, like the behind the scenes. Okay. All right, you guys. Go ahead, Miss Stacy.
So I just wanted to say thanks for joining us today. I hope that you learned something. I know I learned something and some information I wish someone had told me before I became the working professional that I am. So again, thank you for your time. So this will be our last CAP session before summer break. Next week's session is going to be for students who are about to go off to college and want to learn how to maximize your college experience. Even if you're not going in the fall, if you're going to go next spring or sometime next year, in the spring or in the fall or anytime in 2022, that's going to be a great workshop for you. And I'm not saying that you can't attend it, but this is going to be primarily for those who are going to college, because that's what the material is going to cover, how to maximize your time in college. Our next actual CAP session will be in September, the first Friday in September, 6 p.m. We're going to talk to you about how to select a college. How to select a college. That's very important. Not only do you need to do virtual college tours, but there's a lot of other factors and criteria that you need to take into consideration. So we're going to be covering that when we regroup in September, first Friday. And I'm sure the Wooten Center will have it posted on their website as well in case you forget. Thank you again for joining us for the CAP sessions that we've had so far. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you learned. And if you guys have any questions or want to reach us, reach out to Miss Christelle, and she knows how to find me. And Marlene, they both know how to find me.
We're gonna spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
Oh, that's right. Okay, you guys have a game coming up. There's prizes. Let's go.
Yes. All right. Let's see who's feeling like a winner. You must be present to win. Must be present to win.
Uh-oh. Don't hang up early.
That's right. Must be present. Jillian, are you still here? Yes. Congratulations. Woo. Would you like a Starbucks or a Jamba Juice gift card?
Starbucks, please.
Come through. Put it in the chat. Send me a private message with your email. All right. Let's see who else is feeling like a winner. All right, congratulations. Let us see. Is she here? Oh, okay. You guys spin one more time.
I think it should be Dylan because he participated.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Let's see, Dylan. Come on, Dylan.
Oh yeah, we gotta remove Jillian from this last one. But that's not a bad idea. But absolutely, we can give it to Dylan. Thank you so much for participating and giving your best effort. You know what? It's okay. We'll give it. Awesome. So, how do you say your name? IDN? Is she here?
She's not here.
No. Okay. So let's stop there. So, Dylan, congratulations. Woohoo! All right. Would you like a Jamba Juice or Starbucks?
Yeah, please have Starbucks.
Says Starbucks. Okay. Both of them said Starbucks, right? Both of you guys said Starbucks, right?
Yes.
All right. Make sure I have your email in the chat and I'll send it off to you. All right. Wonderful. Congratulations, y'all. So you guys have a great night. You're very welcome.
Have a good rest of your night. Bye.